Let's imagine a village where the temperature drops to minus 72 degrees Celsius, and you live, study, and work in this village. Here, you can't just go outside. Going outside is an operation. Clothing is not about style, but about layers, air, and survival. First, thermal underwear, then wool, then fur. Your face is covered. You breathe through a scarf. Your eyelashes freeze in a minute. A mistake in equipment is not discomfort, but frostbite. A house is not a place of comfort, but a life support system. The stove never goes out. Water is either delivered or ice that you melt yourself. The toilet is outside, and you know exactly how long you can spend there. Electricity is not a given, but an event. If you have it, good. If you don't, that's just the way it is. Technology has a shorter lifespan than humans. Machines do not run continuously. Metal breaks like glass, and plastic crumbles in your hands. Here, they know how to repair everything because there are no replacements. Snowmobiles are a common form of transportation here, and no family can do without one. If something breaks, it is not a service issue. It is your problem. Only about 400 people live in this village. Everyone here knows each other and helps each other. These pipes stretch across the entire village, like a circulatory system. They carry heat, the very thing without which life here would be impossible. Most houses are connected to central heating, and hot water in these pipes is not just a convenience, but a matter of survival. Even in extreme cold, the system continues to operate. It is constantly maintained, checked, and repaired, because any stoppage could have serious consequences for the entire village. But not all houses are connected to centralized heating. Some still use wood-burning stoves. The entire village depends on this small boiler room. It is from here that heat is distributed through pipes to homes, schools, and kindergartens. This is Oymyakon, the pole of cold, a place where winter dictates its rules and heat becomes a shared responsibility. Even here, modern solutions find their place. In summer, when the sun hardly sets, solar panels operate in the village. They provide additional electricity, helping the system and reducing the load. In Oymyakon, the past and the present coexist side by side, because survival is determined not by convenient technologies, but by reliable ones. This is the Tarkov family. They live where conventional notions of life end, in the coldest place on Earth, where people still live. Here, winter is not a season, but a state of being. Temperatures drop to minus 72 degrees Celsius, and the cold becomes a constant backdrop to existence. In these conditions, there is no room for error and no easy button. Here, everything is real. There are 4 in the family, 2 adults and 2 very young children. The older boy is a year and a half old, and the younger girl is only 10 months old. They are taking their first steps in a place where it is difficult for adults to even breathe. The father is the head of the family. He is a commercial hunter. His work involves traveling, setting traps, tracking in the snow, and complete solitude amid endless silence. He knows the value of ammunition, fire, and time. Here, hunting is not romantic, but a means of obtaining food, warmth, and a tomorrow. The mother is the guardian of the home. She is responsible for the hearth, the children, and daily life, where there is no automation or familiar conveniences. Water is obtained by hand, and food is prepared slowly and thoughtfully. Every action is deliberate, because any oversight in these places is punished by the cold. The story of the Tarkov family is not a tale of harsh winter. It is a story of human resilience, responsibility, and the quiet power of life that continues, even where it seems there is no place for it. This morning, Ivan and I are going hunting to set traps and snares. But before the road takes us into the taiga, there is one more important task to complete. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. The house is still asleep. In the silence, only the quiet creaking of the floorboards can be heard. We get ready without saying a word. Here, the morning begins not with coffee, but with preparation. Before leaving, Ivan takes his son to kindergarten. This is normal for any father, except for one thing. Outside the door is one of the harshest frosts on the planet. Look how many layers of clothing a little boy needs just to a warm jacket, another layer, a fur jumpsuit, mittens, a hat, a scarf. Each layer is protection. Every movement is carefully thought out, and at the end, a small backpack on his back, as a symbol of a normal childhood in an unusual place. Here, even the road to kindergarten is part of a big life lesson. A lesson in patience, care, and the ability to be prepared for the cold from childhood. They ride to kindergarten on sleds. The journey is short, only 10 to 15 minutes. But in sub-zero temperatures, even such a distance feels different. The sleds glide over the packed snow. The child is wrapped up in a warm blanket on top of his clothes, so that only his eyes are visible. No one runs or hurries here. Everyone walks calmly and confidently, knowing that rushing in the cold is not forgiven. The kindergarten is small, almost like a house. There are only 20 children in it, but it is always open. The temperature outside is no reason to cancel classes. In this place, they do not wait for warmer weather, because it may not come for weeks. Teachers come to work just as parents bring their children, through the frost, darkness, and snow. Here, childhood is not hidden from reality. From the very beginning, children are taught to live in it. For these children, the cold is not an extreme situation or a test. It is simply their environment. It is as familiar as the road home, the warm light in the window, and the sound of the door closing behind them, behind which it is warm again. Ivan is getting ready to go outside and puts on his traditional fur boots. Here, footwear is not just an item of clothing, but a survival system that has been proven over decades. The first layer is warm fur socks made of hair wool. They are soft, light, and retain heat well, creating an air layer around the foot. This is where protection from the cold begins. The second layer is coarser socks made of mountain sheep wool. They are denser, heavier, and take on the main load, moisture, pressure, and prolonged movement. This layer adds reliability and stability in the cold. And only then come the boots themselves. They are hand-sewn from natural deer skin and fur. This material breathes, does not stiffen in the cold, and retains heat even at very low temperatures. These are shoes created not for beauty, but for life in the cold. Even the rope Ivan uses to tie his boots is made of leather. There are no random details here. Natural materials have been tested by time and generations of experience. Every layer, every knot, it is a precise calculation. In such conditions, your feet must always stay warm, because if your feet freeze, it will be impossible to continue walking. The day before, Ivan showed how bait is prepared here for hunting fur-bearing animals, sable. For this purpose, various game remains are specially collected. These are mainly parts of carcasses and internal organs of animals that are not used for food. All of this is stored separately and left to age for several days. This is not done out of cruelty, but for a simple reason: because of the smell. For sables, it plays a key role. Right now, the smell is very sharp and heavy. It is not easy for an unprepared person to be nearby. For example, here you can see a capercaillie heart, one of the parts used for bait. After preparation, Ivan takes this bait and attaches it to traps. Before heading to places like this, you always need to check and double-check everything. Not just formally, but thoroughly. We had to travel about 30 kilometers each way, a total of about 60 kilometers through terrain where there is no communication, no people, and no possibility of getting help quickly. There was nothing but white emptiness around us, snow, the horizon, and silence. If you stop and just look around, it becomes clear that nothing here forgives haste or carelessness. In such conditions, our snowmobile is our only real source of life. It provides transportation, warmth, and the ability to return. That's why we check everything before we leave: fuel, oil, fastenings, belts, the condition of the running gear. We check more than once, because there will be no second chance on the route. If the snowmobile breaks down, the consequences can be critical. Here, you can't just make a phone call or wait for random help. Any breakdown becomes a serious problem. That's why preparation takes so much time. Not for comfort, but for safety. When there is only snow and cold around, every little thing is important. And the journey begins not with moving forward, but with a thorough check of everything that determines our return. It is both incredibly exciting and truly frightening. Riding a snowmobile in such cold weather means constantly feeling cold, even if you are well equipped. The wind blows in your face, your fingers go numb, and your thoughts become extremely clear. We travel far from home. The snowmobile takes us through the white emptiness for almost an hour. Around us, there is only snow, forest, and silence. No landmarks, no communication. Only the route that Ivan knows by heart and the tracks that show you are moving in the right direction. We arrive at the first point. A trap will be set here. During this trip, we will set 5 traps. Each point is located a few kilometers apart. This distance was not chosen by chance. It does not scare the animals and allows the hunter to cover a large area. Ivan shows how to set a trap. Everything is done calmly and without unnecessary movements. Any mistake can cost time or injury. It is important to act quickly here. Any delay risks freezing your hands or feet. Time is limited, and it is always counted towards the return journey. The trap is set with bait and attached to a tree with a regular rope. Simple, reliable, without complicated mechanisms. When the animal reaches for the bait, the mechanism is triggered instantly. Everything is calculated precisely. The angle, height, tension. This is not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It is a craft that has been practiced here for generations. In places like this, hunting is not a hobby or entertainment. It is a way of life and a means of survival. And as we move from point to point, it becomes clear that this is. After we loaded all 5 traps and hung them on trees, the work was not yet done. We needed to set up one more trap, for testing. Many people are familiar with it, but in these parts it is treated with special attention. Ivan approaches the task slowly. In the taiga, haste is a bad ally. He chooses a place, carefully studies the snow, tracks, and wind direction. Everything is important here. Where the animal is approaching from, where it is coming from, how it will move. A mistake at this stage can ruin several hours of travel and work. Ivan checks the mechanism, the tension, the stability. His movements are precise and confident. It is clear that this is not his first or 100th time. He knows how the animal will behave, where it will go, where it will stop for at least a second. Now it's time for camouflage. This is one of the most important stages. Ivan takes out a knife and begins to cut the deer skin right above the trap. Small pieces fall onto the snow, covering the metal and hiding the shape. Everything is done carefully but quickly. The fur serves several purposes at once. It visually hides the trap, masks foreign odors, and makes the place familiar to the animal. There are no factory baits or chemicals here, only what already exists in nature and does not arouse suspicion. This test setup is necessary to understand how the animal behaves in this area, whether there is any activity, and whether the chosen route is correct. It is part of a larger process where hunting is not a matter of chance, but a system. When everything is ready, it's time to leave. Time is running out. The frost does not allow us to linger. We return to the snowmobile, leaving behind the silence of the taiga and the traps that have now become part of this cold, motionless forest. On the way back, the frost made itself felt again. The zipper on my jacket broke. The metal simply cracked in the cold. In such conditions, this is not a minor malfunction, but a real problem. An open jacket at temperatures of minus 50 degrees Celsius and below is a direct threat to health. I had to improvise on the spot. I used everything I had at hand. Belts, ropes, everything. I tightened the jacket, secured it, and made sure that the wind couldn't get inside. There is no time to get upset or put off making a decision. The taiga will not wait for you to get comfortable. Any breakdown is a test of your composure and ability to make quick decisions. We continued on our way because in these places, the main rule is simple. If something does not go according to plan, act immediately. And so we returned home, tired, frozen, but with a sense of accomplishment. The traps remained in the taiga, quietly waiting for their moment. Ivan will go to check them in a few days, about 5. Nothing is done immediately here. The taiga lives at its own pace and people adapt to it. Today is January 19th, Epiphany, and on this day, as in many other places, people here profess Christianity and follow traditions, no matter what. Even despite the 50-degree frost, after midnight, residents go out for holy water. In such conditions, this is not just a custom, it is a conscious step. The cold does not cancel out faith, it only makes it quieter and perhaps stronger. Ivan's wife, Snejana, is no exception. She is in a fighting mood. She is dressed warmly and moves confidently, without fuss. Now she is going to her friend's house. It is easier and calmer together. People rarely walk alone here, especially at night and in the cold. Not out of fear, but out of habit of being together. We are among the first to arrive at the site. It is dark, frosty, and surprisingly quiet around us. The steam from our breath immediately dissolves into the air. The silence is such that you can hear the snow crunching under your feet. This place is also special, because the river here does not freeze all year round. Even at a temperature of minus 70 degrees, the water continues to flow. This is due to internal sources from which it rises to the surface. The water, which is warm by local standards, prevents the river from freezing, and it is from here that people take holy water. Gradually, people begin to arrive. First, school children, laughing and chatting, but quickly becoming more serious when they feel the cold. Then adults. Some walk silently, others greet each other with a brief nod. It is not customary to talk for long in the cold here. People come with different containers. Some have ordinary plastic bottles. Some carry canisters and buckets. And some arrive with whole barrels. Holy water is collected here for future use. For a month, for a year, for the family, for the home. No one is in a hurry, but no one lingers unnecessarily either. Everyone knows that you can't stand around for long. Fill up, close the lid, and move on. Everything is clear, calm, without fuss or unnecessary words. And at this moment, it is especially clear. The frost does not separate people. On the contrary, it brings them together. Here, faith is not loud or ostentatious. It is simple and practical, like life itself in these places. Even in the coldest place on earth, people continue to come for holy water. Because there are things that do not freeze. When we were about to leave, people kept coming, one after another. Such is life in the north, a life that may seem impossible to some. Too cold, too far, too harsh. But this is where people truly live. Here, they don't ask if it's easy, they just live. Regardless of the weather, the distances, or the difficulties that would cause others to turn around and leave. The North does not promise comfort. It offers honesty. People here believe. They believe in each other because there is no other way. When you are surrounded by endless expanses, wind, and silence, you realize that the people around you are precious. Here, people know how to keep their word, how to wait, and how to help without asking unnecessary questions. In the North, nature is especially revered, not as a beautiful backdrop, but as a living being. It is respected, reckoned with, and appreciated. Here, they know that you are not the master of this land. You are only a guest. And perhaps that is why they live here in harmony. Without haste, without fuss. Listening to the silence, noticing simple things, rejoicing in what they have. The North is not for everyone, but to those who accept it, it opens up completely. And then you understand, impossible is just a word, and life goes on here, no matter what.